going on, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Profit Picks. If you are new, we always start the show by being transparent, but we didn't really have a show yesterday. Didn't have a show on Sunday. I was doing a little bit of traveling, so that's a little bit of the reason why, along with no NBA games. But the weekend was nice to me. I think I went just 2-0. Had an NHL winner on Saturday, and I bet the over in the Kikuchi game on Sunday. No plays for me yesterday. I think I talked to you last on Friday, so that sums up how I've been doing since I've seen you or last talked to you. How have you been doing, Rob?
Yeah, it was a long vacation weekend for me too. Ski, I was away for the holiday. But the weekend was really good, which I got to admit, a lot of time that doesn't happen when I'm away, but it did happen this time. Yesterday, just one baseball play. Backed our guy, Sandy Alcantara, did not come through. Philadelphia got to him early and often, so took that one on the chin. But overall, Ski, to start the year, and it's been pretty selective, but baseball is 9-4 plus 14, over 14 units already. So we're hanging right in there with the baseball. The XFL is rolling. Had another winner Sunday night. So we're up top there on the Wager Talk standings board. And we'll look to these NBA playoffs. I was saying this to Jay yesterday. The good thing is, we don't have to guess anymore with 5 o'clock injury reports, 8 o'clock injury reports. We know who's going to play, and we know that they want to play. So could be a good time to make some cash here during this 6-week playoff run.
Absolutely. This is, NBA has been treating me nice lately. I want to try to keep that going into the playoffs. Like you said, when everybody cares, we don't have to look at who's the one motivated team, et cetera, et cetera. So I love it. Um, let's take a look at NBA first. We do have only two games today, and then just touch a little bit of MLB. We do have, I think every team has played 10 games or close to 10 games. Give it about, four more games. We probably would have seen every starting pitcher three times, just about. That's when I'm really going to deep dive and get heavily involved in MLB and start the shows how we used to do them as well. So until then, let's go NBA. And first came up, we have 561, 562, Atlanta and Miami. And it's been a while. Let me get back to it here, Rob.
Mm,
Uh, there we go. Hawks
there.
and Heat. Hawks
Mm.
and Heat. It opened up here. Heat -5.5. It's between five and a half. It's between 5 and 4.5 now. Looks like at most shops. Total open 228. I see it as low as 226.5 at Westgate, but anywhere between there and the 228. As far as an injury report here, and bear with me, guys. Like I'm traveling, lost my laptop. I'm using a friend's. I'm gonna go buy a new one after today. Injury report for Atlanta. Nobody is on there. They're clean, healthy. For Miami, I do see Struess game time decision, but likely Kyle Lowry game time decision as well, and Jovic out. So I feel a lot of different ways about this game here, Rob. Um, my first thought when I looked at the spread when it first came out was Hawks +5.5, and really just because I don't trust the Heat to lay points all year long as a favorite. They haven't been covering. They can win games at the house. They just haven't been winning by that big of a margin, and I don't think Atlanta has a winning record on the road either. So I look at all those things. I just think about how well I start to change my mind and look at Miami. I think about like how well they've been playing them. They beat them three times out of four this season. When they played in the playoffs last year, they gentlemen swept them 4-1. So I just feel like Miami matches it really well. They know how to play against this Atlanta team, and this could be a situation where they really do or get the job done by margin here. Jimmy Butler is all but assuring a win in his interviews, and he said that they're going to play the same kind of defense that they, know that they can play against Trey that they've had success with, and that's when they blitz him, kind of take the ball out of his hands, try to make the rest of the squad beat you. And the one thing here is they didn't have Murray last year, and maybe having him this year, he can be that guy. Like when they do this to Steph, or when they have been doing it to Steph, Steph dumps it off to Draymond, right? And then Draymond makes the next best decision. They're playing, how do you call it? They're playing 4-on-3, or they have an advantage on the back end after the double team. So if they do that, and Trey Young is dishing it to Murray, Murray's more than capable of making really good decisions for this Atlanta team. So I don't know that Miami will have the same success. Um, it makes me question it a little bit. So on that point, if I know that they're going to play defense like that, and I did see my guy Dream tweet out some stats too. I think if you like an under in this game, or one way to bet against or bet on Miami's defense here is to take Trey Young under his points. I'm gonna shout out my guy Dream. He put these stats up on Twitter. His point prop number is 24 and a half. He went under this 4 to 5 games in the playoffs versus the Heat last year, and 13 of the 17 games in his career versus the Heat. So just them having that game plan, they play him 4 times a year. Really good defensive team, and the coach that Eric Spoelstra is, I would trust him. So I think Trey Young under is a good prop. I really now am a little bit close, even though I talked it out with Murray and how they can have success. I don't know that I trust them to do it. I think I would trust this Miami squad. Every time I see Jimmy Butler play them, he has his way. He can do whatever he wants, whether it's, getting into the paint and kicking it out, getting others involved. And all it's going to take is for this Miami team to start hitting threes for them to run away with this game. And we've seen them do it a couple times this season already versus the Hawks. So I'm starting to lean more towards Miami. And in these Hawks games, I know they're not the favorite here, but Hawks don't play a whole lot of defense. Um, when I think about the Hawks, I know for a fact because I looked it up before the show. Total of less than 230, like that's a Miami total. If a total is that low for a Hawks game, they've gone over 10 of the last 13, and I want to say 17 out of 26 or something like that on the season. It's just they win games by outscoring their opponents, and I don't think they're going to stop the Heat here. So that makes me think if I know the Heat are going to have success on offense, all it's going to take is to knock down a couple threes, and I think that the Hawks can fix a little bit of what they were doing as far as it's not just going to be Trey Young. He can dish it to Murray, and maybe they can have success on offense that way. That leads me to an over 228 or 226 and a half, the best number that I see out there. So I guess I'm gonna continue to talk it out. That's what I'm doing here with you, Rob. I lean Heat and I lean over, lean Trey Young point prop under 24 and a half. Probably would also lean towards Jimmy Butler over his PRA tonight. What do you think about those looks?
Yeah, this is a game where you can go back and forth, right, Skee? I mean, you just did it, back and forth, and then you land somewhere. I'll tell you, I didn't play the full game. I do have a free play today, and I used this on Wager Talk today. I played first quarter over, but it's mostly due to numbers. If you take a look, and Miami, you said it best when you said that this total is in the 220s for a reason, and Atlanta's not the reason. Miami's the reason. Miami's always underpriced where total is concerned. Last 20 games of the season, they kind of made a little bit of a philosophy switch. I think Eric Spoelstra noticed that they're just not as good defensively as they used to be. I mean, Jimmy can say they're going to turn it up, but they haven't shown us that they can turn it up defensively this year. And they started to score more. Last 19 games of the season that the Heat played, they scored 112 or more 13 times. That's 68.5% of the time. They're getting 112 or better, which is a different Heat team. But if I go back to first quarter numbers, how about these? For the season, in the first quarter, Miami's the fourth best over team first quarter in the NBA. 48 and 33, 59% overs in the first quarter. And if you shorten that up and ask what they are at home, they're the number 2 over team at home in the first quarter. 29, 11, and 1. 72.5% of their home games went over the number. A lot of that's because they're low priced, because they're Miami. They come with perception of defense, slow pace, that type of thing. But it's changed a little bit, and you got to take advantage of where the value is. And the odds maker really hasn't adjusted to Miami yet. The other side has to contribute too, right? So for the Hawks in the first quarter this season, they're number 11 as far as overs are concerned. 44 and 37, 54% of the time they go over first quarter. If you shorten them up and put them on the road, they go over even more. And I think it's because they don't play defense at home. They totally lose their defense on the road. 25 and 15 to the over with one push. 62.5% on the road for them first quarter. 72.5% for the Heat at home. Those are pretty sound numbers. Now, this number tonight's 58, the number I played over. if you look at the 4 games they played this year, 2 of them easily got over. March the 3rd, 43-30. That's 73 points. That was here in Miami. January 16th, 38-26. First quarter, 64 points easily over. The 2 that didn't get there, March 4, they played here in Miami, got 29-26, 55 points. How about this? The combination of Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, John Collins, and DeAndre Hunter, 4 of the 5 starters, plus Bogdanovich and Sadiq Bey. Those 6 guys in the first quarter of that game, they shot 26% from the field. I don't think that's going to happen again. And they still got the 55 with those guys not shooting anything. The other game where they didn't reach 58 was way back November 27th, but Jimmy didn't play. Clint Capella didn't play. Gabe Vincent didn't play. So, if you want to play over like I do, you kind of justify things by saying, well, those guys didn't play and they still got the 54. So I think 58's probably a reasonable number, Skee. In these play-in games, we know that things can tighten up and possessions can go take longer and maybe shots become more difficult. But to me, that happens in the fourth quarter of close games. Last 6 minutes or so when teams decide to tighten up the screws because a game is close. First quarter could be a little bit loose here. I think it will be. Again, I only released it as a free play. I didn't make it a client selection today, so I don't have the utmost faith in some of the stuff involving this game, but I do think that that's a way to look if you want to play Miami, Atlanta, first quarter over. All the numbers indicate that Miami home overs are just almost knee-jerk reaction. Now play it.
Well, I'm glad we line up on that. I kind of thought you might like the over in this game, and interesting to see you shorten it up to the first quarter. I could see a situation where defense ramps up at the end of the game. Maybe Trae Young is pounding the ball a little bit more, using more of the shot clock, and maybe Miami goes zone at the end of the game, and that disrupts the Hawks offense. I mean, they can do that throughout the game too. That's another reason why I like Miami. They just have so many things they can do. So shorten it to the first quarter. I do like the sound of that, but I also do like the full game. I gotta ask you, Rob. I mean, I, I heard you talk a lot of total. I'm flip flopping on sides. If you have to pick, um, who would you think wins this game straight up, regardless of point spread?
All right, this game's a little bit different than the ones we'll see tomorrow because this is 7-8 and the winner is instantly in the playoffs, right? The loser gets the safety net. They get a second chance.
Right.
So, I mean, you could use like common sense logic and say that if the game is starting to slip away late, then you have that second chance, maybe you let it go and depend on your second chance. I don't know that that'll happen. I made so many back and forth arguments here when I was handicapping this game that when I come to that point, I'd rather just take points. So I'd probably lean Hawks +5, thinking they could lose the game but stay close. I've read a lot about where DeJounte Murray might try and cover Jimmy Butler. I don't know that that's a great idea. I know Murray's, got a reputation as a good defender, hasn't exactly helped Atlanta's team defense at all, but boy, you don't want to be in trouble. Jimmy's a guy that gets to the free throw line 15 times a game when he wants to, and I don't know that Murray's the guy to handle him. And if he is, if we flip what you said about Trae Young dumping the basketball to the next available guy, which is Murray, who makes the next play, Jimmy Butler may be able to do the same thing if he finds that he's being doubled. I think the addition of Sadiq Bey on the other side is important. We have to consider Murray and Bey. It should make them better. Skee, both of these teams have been close in recent playoffs, right? They both have made the conference finals. So I expect motivation, but all the back and forth arguments I can make, I think in the end, I would rather take +5 if I had to. Like I say, the one thing I got close with is the shortening up the first quarter over.
All right, good stuff on that. I did have a couple of trends here. What up, UCAP? Appreciate hit the like button. I appreciate it. If you guys like what you're hearing or if we're helping you out, it does help us out if you hit the like button. Just a couple more trends. You did mention how Miami is playing lately at home, right? They've hit the over 7 straight home games. The over has hit 5 straight games in a row for Miami in general. Miami is 7-0 straight up their last 7 at home against Atlanta. Atlanta's only covered the spread 2 of their last 8 games. A
A
lot of
lot of
different
Miami.
yeah, a
Lot
lot
of
of stuff making me want to say Miami in this one. I was looking at a couple of different ways to bet the playoffs, and there's some to make the playoff props. So if I'm liking Miami here tonight, right? We can't bet Miami to make the playoffs. I mean, you can bet the points the money line tonight if you want. That's way better than the minus 750 that they're to make the playoffs. You get what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
to make the playoffs for Atlanta is minus 280. To miss the playoffs is plus 220. So if I think they're gonna lose tonight, I'm just trying to think ahead just a little bit. They'll have to play either Chicago or Toronto. Two teams that I trust a lot more on the defensive end than I trust Atlanta. Atlanta making the coaching change in the middle of the season. I kind of want to, I want to fade Atlanta some way, shape, or form. Whether I take Miami minus the 4.5 or 5 tonight, or I just bet Atlanta to miss the playoffs. Any thoughts on that? I know you said you'd take Atlanta plus the 5.5, so I guess you would lean more towards the second one.
Well, and it doesn't mean they have to win tonight, right? They could lose and still cover 5.5, so or 4.5. Um, the advantage Atlanta would have if they lose tonight is they'll be home, right? And maybe at the house they're a little bit better than they are on the road against either a Chicago or a Toronto team. If it's Chicago, it would be two travel sites in a row, right up to Toronto, then down to Atlanta. Atlanta, Chicago might not favor the Bulls. Atlanta, Toronto. I'm with you that either one of those defenses is far superior to Atlanta. I don't know exactly how they played in Atlanta this year. Chicago, when push comes to shove, they have DeRozan and they have Levine and they have Vucevic, three guys that can get you a bucket in a close game. You know, I, wow. I'd probably fade Atlanta in this game. I don't know that they would lose at home, Skee, tell you the truth, against either one of those. So I would probably say if you think Atlanta's going to exit, play Miami tonight, find a way to play the Heat to get rid of Atlanta. I don't know what the first half price is. If we think that Atlanta doesn't come out fired up for the first half, it's 2.5. I don't know. This game has me talking to myself, man. I got that first quarter over, and that's all I can come up with that I can speak with any conviction about.
That's all good. Rick White says, "What about the Heat team total over?" Sounds like you like the Heat and the over. Yeah, I would agree. You put them both together, that's what you get. You're looking at a 116.5 number. I don't have
Mhm.
what the Hawks have been allowing lately, but their defense is ass. I'm pretty sure
It is.
it's probably more than that. I did have, let me just see real quick. I know the Hawks are bottom 10 defensive rated team. They're the second worst team protecting the paint, and bottom 5 as far as they give up a lot of points um, for their opponents on the fast break. So I don't trust the Hawks at all defensively. I would agree that that's the way that I'm leaning. That's the way that I would look. Saturated says he's all over Jimmy Butler, points, assists, and PRA. Our last question here, Rob, on this game before we move on. Would you prefer a Jimmy Butler PRA over, or would you prefer a Trae Young points under?
Did Saturated list that PRA for Jimmy Butler?
He did not. Um, he did not.
I'm all over. I'm going to guess it's probably in the range of 36.5 or something, which that's well, you know what? I would probably play Jimmy over. He tends to want to take over these play and get, and if he's already chirping about how they're going to win, then I always prefer to be on his side. So I would probably look that direction, Jimmy over. I want to say this to you, Skee, real quick. You talked about Hawks defense and didn't have exact numbers. Last 20 games they've played, tonight's Miami team total is 116.5. Atlanta's given up 116 or more 16 times in their last 20 games. So 80% of the time they give up
There you go.
116 or more. Um,
I
yeah.
like that.
So 117 shouldn't be that hard to come. I remember a time when we were doing playoff shows And I used to say, as long as Miami gets to 106, the game's
Uh-huh.
going over. And
I
now
remember
we
that.
can get to 117. Now we can get.
How times have changed.
Mhm.
Get to 117 like clockwork. Okay. I like that. Team total over 116 and a half. I probably would play the full game over too, just because I'm not that sure that Atlanta won't be able to make some adjustments here to how Miami defends them and also be able to contribute just a little bit here. So Miami team total over, I like the over. I like Miami. Rob likes the first quarter over. Let's move on over to the next game, and that's going to be. And this is on the move. I did these banners earlier. Timberwolves at the Lakers. This game opened Lakers minus 5.5, all the way up to 8.5 now. Total opened 232 and a half. We're looking at 233. There's a 231.5 at one bet, but anywhere between there. So make sure you line shop depending on what you like. Injury report. Let's get over here. So for the Timberwolves, Gobert's been suspended after punching Kyle Anderson in the last game they played, right? McDaniels, he's also going to be out. I think he did something like punch the wall and fractured his hand
Yep.
in frustration. Nas Reed has been out. Karl Anthony Towns, game time decision. Noel, game time decision. For the Lakers, we have Anthony Davis and LeBron, game time, and D'Angelo Russell, game time decision. But all three are probable. They're likely to play tonight. Um, Really hefty spread for this Lakers team. I guess the best way for me to look at this, first and foremost, I gotta say, what I trust most is Austin Reeves over 4.5 assists, just because he's been so consistent with that lately. Ever since that first game where they let him play make. Obviously, we like him more without D'Angelo Russell and LeBron in the lineup, but I still trust him to be able to create for this team and for him to put him in positions to do so. So I like that prop for their side. On the flip side, if I'm looking for somebody to get assist on Minnesota, it has to be Anthony Edwards. He's been fairly consistent um, ever since the coach kind of challenged him and said that the team is better when he creates for others. So over, I think they've raised it to 4.5 for him. I would take that. He averages 4.5, just has to get pretty much to his average. And I want to say, I'll look it up while Rob is talking, but I want to say he's hit it every game that Gobert did not play. Um, Yeah, every game that Gobert did not play, I think he's hit it as well. So I'll look into that while Rob goes. And I also just think, if you have no Gobert down there, you have no McDaniels to hound LeBron. You probably, I mean, LeBron's been playing good on offense lately. He's been scoring like 30 plus, right? His point prop is 28.5. I think he can clear that. He can get another 30 piece tonight. And I think that the Lakers are kind of going to score at will here. So I lean towards all those props that I said, probably more so of a Lakers team total over than full game over, just because I do trust the Lakers defensively. I just don't trust them enough to lay the 8.5 points. So Lakers team total over, full game over, LeBron points, Austin Reeves assists, Anthony Edwards assists. Those are all ways that I'm looking in this contest. What is catching your attention here, Rob?
Well, I tell you, in the beginning, I really wanted to play Minnesota. Then came the Gobert news. Really, before that, the broken hand for McDaniels. I don't think people realize how big. I went through this with Jay yesterday. I didn't think the odds maker would really adjust for that. And it looked like when the game went from 5.5 to 7 that they did, but really that 5.5 to 7 move was people knew Gobert was getting suspended. He gets suspended early afternoon yesterday, early morning on the West Coast. Um, their bench ski now is so short because you talked about no Nas Reed, probably no Jalen Noel. And all of a sudden, when you take a look at their bench real quick here, I had some notes from this morning. Jordan McLaughlin, Alexander Walker, Austin Rivers, Nathan Knight, Wendell Moore, as opposed to the Laker bench. And the Lakers' depth is underpublicized, if you ask me, undervalued. Schroeder, Hachimura, Beasley, Brown Jr., Mo Bamba's gotten minutes lately, if need be. Lonnie Walker, Wenyen Gabriel. The Lakers are so much deeper. So even if the starters could play LA to a standstill, the bench is going to be a difference maker for the Lakers. Now, is it 8.5 points worth of difference? I'm not sure because Minnesota's put up a really good fight the last 6 weeks or so. And in my estimation, or off the top of my head, they played a lot of that stuff shorthanded. I mean, Karl Anthony Towns didn't play forever, right? And there were games where Anthony Edwards was sick, where Gobert didn't play. Remember, Gobert was on the injured list every single day. Some days he'd play, some days he wouldn't. So they've learned to play a little bit shorthanded, but this is a lot shorthanded. I still think that 8.5 may be a little bit too much. I would look, and I was about to look up um, what Karl Anthony Towns' PRA is for tonight because he has incrementally played
I know his
better.
points are 23.5. I didn't check the PRA.
Well, somebody in the chat may grab that for us. Otherwise, I'll look it up in a minute. But his numbers have gone up, and up. 40 for PRA. I'll just work backwards. Final game of the season, got 40 in a meaningful game, right? That wasn't a throwaway game. New Orleans played their guys. Minnesota played their guys. He got the 40 PRA. Then he got the 38 before that. He got the 41 before that. So the last 3 games down the stretch, he's picked it up. He's going to have to pick it up tonight if they're going to have a chance. It can't just be Anthony Edwards by himself. Mike Conley, a pretty good playmaker. I went back and forth with the total here too, Skee. I thought at first that Minnesota would have to slow this thing down in order to be in it. Lakers like to play fast. Minnesota probably can't play fast. However, when you take Rudy Gobert out of the mix and maybe push Karl Anthony Towns to the 5, maybe you can play fast. So then it threw me back to, well, maybe this game gets over. I still think I lean under, and I still think I lean Timberwolves plus the points. But more than anything, I'll probably get involved with Karl Anthony Towns PRA tonight because I just think this is a situation where if they have any chance, he's got to play well. They do have the safety net here again. This is a 7-8 game. Loser gets another shot. But Minnesota's played with a lot of determination last 6.5 weeks, so I don't want to sell them short, even though they are personnel-wise shorthanded.
Really quick, I just want to correct myself. Anthony Edwards did not go over his assist number every time that Gobert didn't play, but he did hit it 4 of the last 5. And to what you were just saying there, Rob, I gotta ask. So you said I heard you say you leaning or liking the under a little bit here. You still trust this Wolves team defensively without Gobert protecting the paint, without McDaniels out there on the wing.
It's what stopped me from betting it because I was this far. I was on with Jay yesterday when the news came down that Gobert was out, and we were both hyping up the under. And I hadn't had a chance to bet it yet, but I was going to. And then they announced Gobert out. And I know the initial reaction, Skee, we know how this works from the injury chasers. They think Gobert's out. We need to bet it under because he's a star player. We got to bet the under now. He's going to be absent from the lineup. But the way it works with him is you need to be betting over if he's not defending the rim. Forget about under. So it did. It changed my mind to where I couldn't play it anymore. There's a real likelihood here that this gets over. There's a likelihood that LA's pace would, over the course of 48 minutes, let's say that 24 of it, half of it, Minnesota tries to match pace because of the 5 they have on the floor. And then, the Laker bench, too. The Laker bench might run Minnesota into the ground, too. And I don't know that the bench will slow down. So it could become a quicker game without Gobert. I know Mike Conley is methodical, and he'll try and keep it somewhat slow. But I'm not inside Chris Finch's head. I don't know where he wants to go with this. I do think that team is feisty, and 8.5 in the end. You could be down 12 with a couple minutes left and still get the back door. So I'm afraid to bet the Lakers at this price tag. I don't think they're going to lose the game. I'll say that much. I think the Lakers are advancing into the playoffs with this one. And Minnesota's going to have to do its second chance. I do like Towns, though, to show up here and get what he's supposed to get. And I'll tell you one more thing real quick here is now Anthony Davis props might need to be looked at. Now, Gobert's kind of a tough defender, but without him in the middle, AD, I don't know if LeBron's going to defer or if LeBron's going to take over. But if he includes AD, he's put up some pretty big numbers too, as far as props are concerned. PRA.
Yeah, I can't talk you off of betting on him. And the PRA number for Karl Anthony Towns, I think in the chat they said 38.5. So you look at that. Boofer said he's leaning towards Lakers second half. Other people said Lakers first half. So a lot of different ways people are leaning here. I gotta ask. I mean, it's unbettable to bet the Lakers now to make the playoffs. You should have bet that a while ago. But Timberwolves odds here. Timberwolves to make the playoffs minus 260, yes. Plus 200, no. I mean, I don't think they're winning this game at all tonight.
Right.
And if they lose tonight, they got to play either the Pelicans or the Thunder. Now, I would not want to bet for the Thunder to win, but I think the Pelicans can handle business there. Uh, I didn't even bet that game or get that far ahead. I've been so behind because of losing my stuff and traveling. But I think plus 200 for Minnesota to miss, I think that's a pretty solid wager because they're not winning tonight. And if they play the Pelicans, I think the Pelicans should be the favorite. They've won, I think, 9 out of their last 12 or 11 or something like that. So even if they're not at home, I would look towards the Pelicans in that game. So what do you think about Minnesota plus 200 to miss the playoffs?
Well, for me, I don't think they're going to be playing the Pelicans because I don't think that the Thunder gets through New Orleans in New Orleans. But if they did, if it worked out that way and New Orleans had to go to Minnesota, New Orleans could travel to Minnesota and win. Can OKC go to New Orleans first and win and then go to Minnesota and win? Boy, I doubt it. So it kind of leaves me in a quandary where that bet is concerned. But where the Lakers sit, Skee, they go on, they win here. They go on to play the Grizzlies, I believe it is, in a 7-game. And I had taken a look. I just think that odds makers don't give us a fair shake with the Lakers because I thought they would be a little bit, I'd get a better price to win the Western Conference. And I thought, if they can get through that Memphis series, can always hedge out. If I don't think they're going to go further than that, but they may be a good plus price. I don't know. I just think I'm getting ripped off. That's why I didn't bet it.
I looked at
Odds
that too. It
makers,
was like plus 625 or something like that, right?
yeah, and they know that California Laker money is always coming, so that's why they do this to you. They make it a little bit lower than it should be, unfair price. I'm still going to shop it. There may be a couple of spots. I got enough outlets here to where I can keep looking and see if I can get a better price. But I wouldn't. You know what? The Lakers have a shot, Skee. They've got a shot with what they have 1 through 9 to beat anybody in the West. So if I can get a little bit better than 625, maybe I'm going to take a shot with the Lakers Western Conference and know that at least after tonight, they're going to be in the playoffs.
I would agree with that. And I'm still looking towards the Minnesota to miss too. I don't think they're getting in. And also, maybe it's a little bit too early to mention that, but I got a ticket earlier in the season on Lakers to do a little something this year. So hopefully they can make some noise. Those are the 2 games in the NBA for today. I will not be here with you tomorrow for the games, and I don't want to go too much into detail with them here today. But just really quick thoughts. Chicago, I'm gonna group them both together here, Rob. Chicago and Toronto. When I think of that game, first thing that comes to my mind is 2 teams that should play really defensive. Um, and outside of that, I don't really know how much I trust the Raptors to lay points, especially versus a Bulls team who seems to have, been a little bit more motivated towards the second half of the season. And then you have DeMar DeRozan coming back versus his old team. Um, I'm sure he would like to put them out there. So I lean towards the Bulls. I lean towards the under. And I would be thinking if I'm betting for anybody to score points, it's DeMar DeRozan. I guess I won't group them together. Any quick thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can go quick here. I think first and foremost, I like under. I think they're both defensive minded. And this game, 214.5. I could see something in the 107, 102 area, 107, 103. And if I had to, again, this adds up to me like the Atlanta Miami game does. That I would take points. The teams are that evenly matched. 5 seems to be a little too heavy, Ski, for Toronto here against the Bulls. When push comes to shove at the end of a game, and you've got either Levine, DeRozan, or Vucevic to go to, and on the other side, if you're not going to Siakam, who do you really trust to get that bucket? I mean, Van Vliet's come up big before, but I don't know in this case. So we talked a little bit about how Patrick Beverley has kind of changed the culture with the Bulls. And I think that at playoff time, that matters. So I would look Bulls +5. I do like under 214.5 in that game.
All right, so we're in agreement there. I like that. Um, as far as the other game, OKC and the Pelicans, I don't have too much to say. I just would try to find some way to bet on the Pelicans. I think they could sneak into the playoffs. The price that because I think, Minnesota, I just don't like the direction they're trending, their health. I do think the Pelicans are going to beat the Thunder. They're 5.5 point favorite. And you can get plus 250 on the Pelicans to make the playoffs. So if it works out how I'm thinking, uh, that's the best bet. Any thoughts for you, OKC and Pelicans?
I like the Pelicans. And to me, it's just first of all, it's a maturity thing or an experience thing, right? I mean, New Orleans got in there last year and they made a pretty good run, and they did it without Zion. And to a man, they vowed to be back this year, and they're playing pretty well at this point in time. They closed the season pretty strong. They almost got me. They almost cashed that season over under win ticket, Ski, that I had on them. I had over 44.5, and somehow they got to 42 despite all the troubles that they had. But Ingram, McCollum, Valanciunas, all these guys were there last year. The kid from Alabama, Herbert Jones, they all got the experience last year. Oklahoma City's inexperienced. What guy in Oklahoma City's been in the playoffs before? Going to have to go on the road into a hostile playoff environment. I just don't think OKC can come out of this. You got to love what they did. They're probably a year ahead of schedule. I don't think they expected to make the playoffs this year, but good for them. They'll come back next year with Chet Holmgren, more draft choices. They'll be pretty good next year. I said to Jay yesterday that I feel like New Orleans will find a way to just put up some type of paint defense that stops SGA from getting into the paint. I mean, he doesn't shoot threes, but he still gets 40 points on twos and free throws. And if they shut that down, I like the young pieces OKC has, but I don't know how many I trust on the road in the playoffs. So I laid 5 in this game, and I actually played New Orleans 2 ways here because I played them first quarter -1.5, thinking they'll come out quickly. Oklahoma City could have jitters. It's a young team. Got to win by a bucket. That was it. So I played New Orleans first quarter -1.5. I played New Orleans full game -5.
All right, I like it. I like it. Myself, I think I'm gonna take a stab at that to make the playoffs price. It sounds pretty enticing to me. I do want to touch. We got to some NBA. I do want to touch a little bit of baseball just because I know that you're looking at it. You're making some
Sure.
money over there, and there was one game that caught my attention that I wanted to at least mention. So let's get over to a little bit of MLB. I'll start with my game first, if that's cool, Rob.
Yeah, let's do it.
Boston and Tampa Bay, Whitlock versus McClanahan, and get back over here. This game opened up Rays -185. I see them at circa. They're down to -165, but still some, -180, -185s out there. Make sure you line shot. Total open 7.5 and it's sitting quite steady. Looking at both of these pitchers, haven't seen Whitlock yet, if I'm not mistaken. And McClanahan, we've seen him twice. He's been damn good. 1.5 ERA, picking up right where he left off. 12 innings pitched so far through 2 games. This is a Rays team who has won every single game so far this year. I already had, a few shutouts. Um, I don't want to be betting against the Rays here, and I damn sure don't want to be betting against McClanahan. He's a guy that I backed pretty consistently last year, and the way I chose to back him most of the time was, betting the opposing team's first 5 team total under. You're getting a 1.5 for this one here today, but I mean, they're not allowing people to score for the entirety of the game. The bullpen's been good. He's been good. How can we, not back the Rays in some way, shape, or form? How can we? I feel like the best bet is Boston team total under. which for the full game, let me just double check. For the full game, bear with me. For the full game, it's 2.5. You're gonna get a nice price on it. I think it's plus money. The first five is 1.5, which I think is the better bet. So if I have to play something here, first five team total under 1.5 for the Red Sox, or or, or raise first five minus a half, and I probably prefer the team total under. So how do you feel about this game, Rays versus Red Sox?
All right, so we're somewhat in agreement because I would prefer first five with McClanahan minus the half run. I think you lay 20 cents with that, Ski, but why wouldn't you with McClanahan here? Garrett Whitlock, first game back, potential that he doesn't even go five. Red Sox bullpen used quite a bit to start the season. There still should be fresh arms in there, but middle relief is a place you don't want to be in the fourth inning. And last year, a lot of times when I would play McClanahan or if I would play the Rays in general, you find it hard to play them run line because you're afraid of their offense, right? Like, wow, can they actually score enough to cover for me? But this year, it's been a whole different thing. And I get that they've been playing, bottom feeders, so to speak. But running Garrett Whitlock out there for the first time since last year with no idea how long he's going to go and the way the Tampa Bay bats have been hitting people so far, I have to believe they'll get enough runs from McClanahan. He's gone 6 innings in both outings so far. If they can get him, well, you like team total under, so I'll say it this way. If they can get him 2 runs, they're going to cover minus half a run, minus 120. So that's the way I would look. I like being on McClanahan's left arm. He's been really, really good. I know Boston's got a decent lineup, but I think Tampa Bay's lineup will do more damage to Whitlock than the Red Sox will do to McClanahan.
Rick White is agreeing. He says Tampa Bay double winning at half and win the game. I like where my guy Noli is going here. It says Rays to score first because I, I trust McClanahan more than I trust Whitlock. Simple as that.
Right.
You're getting a good price probably because the Red Sox are going to bat first. So I think that's a pretty solid prop right there, and I may look that way as well. But good job on that game. Let me see. Damani says Rays and Lightning, little Tampa sports parlay. All right. There were two games, or there's another game that you're looking at here in MLB, and I'll go with the one that I'm most familiar with first. It's going to be 961, 962. LA Dodgers in San Francisco taking on the Giants. This game opened up Dodgers minus 145. They have about a minus anywhere between that and minus 165 I'm seeing right now. Total opened at 8, and it looks like it's sitting at 8 pretty much across the board. There's 1 8.5 at Heritage if you do like the under. Let me take a look really quick at what either of these pitchers have been doing so far this year. So for May, I have him as 1-0 with the 0.69 ERA. He's been pretty good there, and 13 innings pitched. So maybe he just didn't get a decision on his other game, but he's been pitching pretty well by himself. Going up against Wood, who has a 3 ERA so far on the season, only has pitched 3 innings. So I haven't seen as much from him. So I want to say I trust Wood here. I just don't trust the Dodgers right now. They've been, I feel like, back and forth, inconsistent. There's going to be a time where they go on a run, but until I see them, win a couple in a row, I don't want to be backing them. And in Dodgers games, I only back them on the minus 1.5. Their team, we saw last year when they win by margin. I will be taking advantage, if I like the Dodgers today, of the plus price on the minus 1.5 line. So I guess that's the way that I lean. Just trying to get behind May, maybe even just Dodgers first 5. I don't have all the bullpen numbers that I usually have. I will have them soon. But yeah, lean Dodgers first 5 or full game. What do you like here, Rob?
Yeah, I like Dodgers first. And you know what, Ski? Almost everything I've played so far this season has been first 5. I'm just leaning on starting pitching early in the season here because, like you said, these bullpens, those trends will develop as we go on. Those bullpens are so flaky year to year. What's good becomes bad. What's bad becomes good. So I don't want to trust any bullpens, but Dustin May's been lights out, and it gets an Arizona offense twice, and not just both in Dodger Stadium, once at home, once on the road. 13 innings, only 8 base runners allowed in 13 innings for Dustin May. And his balls had incredible movement on it, like before surgery. Um, Arizona, to me, after what I saw against the Dodgers, that offense puts a lot more pressure on you than does the San Francisco Giants. Arizona does it in multiple ways, especially with speed that the Giants don't have. So I think Dustin May will be just fine after pitching the way he did 13 innings against Arizona. To ask him for 5 against the Giants, I don't think is too much. The other side of the equation is, can the Dodgers hit Alex Wood? And even though win-loss wise they've been inconsistent, up and down, back and forth, been nothing inconsistent about their offense. They're scoring and scoring and scoring some more. Um, when you give up 11, 12 runs a game, you're going to lose some games. And that's what happened against the Diamondbacks in 2 in a row. I don't think the Giants get there. The Giants have been home run dependent so far this year. They got to have the long ball to score runs. Dustin May hasn't given up a home run in 13 innings. So I think first 5, it's basically pick them, right? It's minus 110 for the Dodgers on the road with Dustin May. So I laid the half a run and played LA minus a half. They won big last night, I think 9-1. I think they'll get the first 5 in the bag here tonight against Alex Wood, ex-Dodger, by the way, Alex Wood.
Yeah, a lot of people are agreeing here. They're saying, Giants are a fade, can't trust San Fran at all. So people agreeing that the Dodgers are the way to go here. Nolly letting us know what bullpens we can trust. I appreciate that. Helped me with my handicap in the season early. And let's see. Yeah, I think that's it for the comments on this game. So there was another one that caught your attention here, Rob. And I'm gonna move over to that. That's 975, 976. We're looking at Houston versus Pitt versus Pirates, Javier versus Mitch Keller. Opened up minus 180 for the Astros here, anywhere between minus 165 and a little bit more than, and minus 182. Total open 8, and we're looking at 8s pretty much across the board here. Let's take a look at both of these pitchers lately, or what they've been doing so far this year, rather. And I do not. Oh, interleague game. My bad. So for Javier, 3.27 ERA, 11 innings pitched so far, 11 strikeouts. Keller, 3.86 ERA, 11 innings pitched, 15 strikeouts. So maybe if you want to back doing these pitchers, you look at their K prop today. I don't really have a strong opinion on this game. I haven't even been following the Astros that close, but I feel like they haven't been that strong to start the year. How are you looking to play this game, Rob?
This one I took full game run line, Skee. I've got the visitor, Houston, so I'm guaranteed the 9 at-bats. But most importantly, Pittsburgh's not an offense that can lose arguably their best player. And anybody who saw that injury to O'Neal Cruz at home plate in that collision the other night, that's not good. Took surgery. He's out for 12 weeks. You take that huge bat and your shortstop out of the lineup, and I think that hurts Pittsburgh incredibly. Now, Houston, in order to cover 1.5 games, you got to 1.5 runs, you got to get some run production out of them. I think I saw 7 of their 10 games this year. They've scored 5 or more, so offense hasn't been an issue. Christian Javier against a severely weakened lineup, I think, won't be a problem. Mitch Keller is the reason why I didn't play first 5. He's been pretty good. I'd rather take the full game and take my shots against the bullpen as well as Keller in this instance and take the chance to win by 2. I just don't think, maybe I should be playing Pittsburgh team offense or team total under here, Skee, just because of O'Neal Cruz. But I decided instead to use the Astros. The price seemed to be right in this game for me. Full game. If you want to lay 1.5, you only have to lay 5 cents. So for me, it's Christian Javier and the Astros. Full game, run line. Again, let's watch and see how much this offense produces for the Pirates without O'Neal Cruz, because we saw when he came up last year, 6-7 shortstops that can hit with that kind of power just don't come along every day. They're now without one, and it's a drastic drop-off between he and what they're going to replace him with. The only 2 legit guys, I guess, on the other side now become Brian Reynolds and Key Brian Hayes. And other than that, I don't think Javier has to worry too much. So Astros full game, -1.5 runs, minus a nickel. Up, we lost you.
My bad. I'm muted there, but good stuff there. I don't want to talk you off that play at all. The real DJ likes the over 7.5. I will very likely be on the sideline for that game. I think we did a pretty solid job here today, Rob. We touched on a few MLB games, touched on NBA play-in, and I think it's time now. We've been on here for a little bit over 50 minutes. Let's get to anything you would like to promote, and maybe out of everything we talked about, maybe there's a best bet in there.
Well, let's do the promotion, get that out of the way. Wagertalk.com is the place to go. It's kind of one-stop shopping for all your handicapping needs, really. If you go over there, guys, and you haven't been there yet, you hear me say this each and every time I'm on with Skee, just drop your email address, and instantly for free, you'll have access to all the video content, all the shows that Wager Talk produces each and every day. Every sport is covered. Most every game is covered. Full roster of handicappers there. Later on this afternoon, you can see Skee and I together on the NBA tip-off show over there. We'll go through NBA one more time with Wager Talk. If you like selection packages, mine are up and available. Wagertalk.com. You can get MLB, NBA play-in, and also later this week, XFL football, which has been kind to me as well. Number one overall at Wager Talk in that. So selection packages, once again, just get everything over at wagertalk.com. As for the show and the play, Skee, I'll go back to, let's go to Major League Baseball. I think Dustin May first 5, minus the cheap price 110, the way he's throwing right now, to me looks really good. His performance so far, the 0.69 ERA in the 13 innings, only 8 base runners allowed, was done against a really good offense that gets on base, that causes problems when they're on base because they're so fast. But the Giants aren't that. If the Giants don't hit the ball out of the park, it doesn't seem like they score. Dustin May hasn't given up a home run. So I'm going to play the Dodgers first 5, minus half a run, minus 10 cents.
I like that play. It sounds good to me. And I'm gonna do a little bit different for my best bet segment, just because number one, I have not placed a bet yet today. I've already told you guys I lost my equipment and it kind of threw me off. So what I'm gonna do here is let me give you. I haven't placed a bet, but I will be placing these bets. I'm gonna give you the best looks for MLB that I like and a couple for the play in here. So for MLB, I'm gonna be getting involved with Red Sox first 5 team total under 1.5. I think the best price I see right now is -126. And I'm gonna take a look if I can find that prop that Noli mentioned on the screen, where we have what was it? Tampa Bay to score first, -110. I would like that play as well. I want to back my guy McClanahan today. And then for the NBA, the way I see the best play right now, and you're not going to be able to get paid tonight, but I do think you will get paid. And it's a little bit of correlation, but you could win one and not win the other as well. We're going to go Minnesota to make the playoffs, no, plus 200. Then we're going to go also Pelicans to make the playoffs, yes, plus 250. You need one of them to win to have a little bit of profit there. And I do think both of them are very capable of winning. Couple comments really quick before we do get out of here. Just reinforcing that the Giants are cheeks. Not a lot of love for the Giants to start the season. Noli says Keller is looking good. His velocity is up. Javier says good show, y'all. Jimmy Butler points ladder play of the day for him, says 40 plus incoming. And we did talk about a lot of props. I got to go back and look through the props because I did like some of those as well. What's going on, Muno? So great show today here, Rob. We appreciate you for spending the time to come and share the information with everybody. We appreciate the chat. Like I always say, the show is not the same without you guys. You guys make it fun. You guys bring and share a lot of good information. You guys are great handicappers yourselves. So, like my guy Jay Money says, all of us versus the bookies. I will be back here tomorrow, solo dolo. Our guy Rob Veno will be back Thursday and Friday to help us find some more money. Best of luck with all of your action, and we will see you guys then.